Hey everybody, it's Joe Solari here, and I am checking in to see if you can hear me okay. Everything working well with the technology here? Just leave me a comment if that's all working well. Um, since I don't do a whole lot of lives, most of my stuff I do recorded just because I tend to have problems or dogs barking or stuff like that. But those of you that are here, uh, awesome. I'm going to start getting into the material and talk through some of the main ideas. There's going to be a lot of stuff we're going to be covering here. So Steven's working great. All right. So at least I got somebody here that hears everything good. Oh, Josh is here. We're going to be talking to Josh in a little bit. So we're going to cover some things. This is the official day that I'm closing my pre-orders. And if you see at the bottom there by the book, I've got a link. If you still haven't gotten the book and you're interested in getting the book at the pre-order price of $9.99, you can go there through the end of today and order that book. I've actually changed it off of the regular pages. I'm just leaving it open for those of you that decide to come on to this live event and check in. And by the time I'm done, I'm hoping that you'll see some real value in what I'm doing with this book and this course, and you'll be like, "Damn, I better get this now," because it is going to go up to $20, 19.95, and you'll see why I believe the value's there. So, what I wanted to talk to begin with is talk about something that I did with this whole launch that was very different. I mean, I basically took all the rules that you hear at most places about launching a book and broke them all. So I did not launch my book on any sales platform other than my own. So I sold it direct. I did not do any advertising. Okay. So I didn't spend any money on Facebook ads, or there was no reason to spend any money on Amazon ads because the book wasn't on Amazon. So why would I do that? And what is the whole idea behind this? And um, if you're a fiction writer, you may be like, well, that might work fine for somebody writing nonfiction, but I'm going to show you that it's going to be valid to you no matter what type of work you write. Really, it doesn't matter what your product is. These concepts are going to be really valuable, and I think are going to be a way for folks to kind of zig while others are zagging. I say a lot, So let me start out with a story, a little bit of history. Anybody that's may have heard of a guy named Stanley Milgram, then you'll know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't heard of Stanley Milgram, he was a social psychologist back in the '60s. He's mainly known for a experiment he did around um, obedience. And if you go look this obedience experiment up, it was mind blowing stuff. But he also did a lot of other experiments about sociology, and one of his was called the small world problem. Okay. And the small world problem is the basis of the uh, statement 6 degrees of separation, that you're only 6 degrees away from meeting somebody you might want to meet. Like if you wanted to meet Beyonce, there's only 6 people between you and her to make that connection. And the way he proved this out was back in the days of snail mail, where he actually uh, did an experiment where he gave people a letter to get to a stockbroker in Massachusetts. And that stockbroker, if you knew him on a first name basis, you could just send him the letter because you knew this person's address. But if you didn't, the idea was that you would send it to somebody you know on a first name basis that would maybe know this person. So maybe you know somebody in Massachusetts, so you send it to your aunt in Massachusetts. Or maybe you know a stockbroker in Omaha, so you sent it to a stockbroker. But the results of this experiment was that 5.3 connections on average were made to get the letter from somebody that they picked it randomly to do this and the target. And that's what gets us to that concept of 6 degrees of separation. So I tell you this story because I want you to think about it from the perspective of everybody that you need to get your book to, everybody that's your perfect audience for your book is 6 degrees of separation from you. They're in your network. Now, before you say, well, listen, there's no way I'm going to go like give my book to my aunt to go. I'm not talking about your immediate family. It's about understanding the right people and building the perfect network. So the first thing I want to do is go and show you a tool. You may be familiar with this tool. Let me switch screens here so you can see this. Why aren't you switching? There we go. Okay. So for those of you, if you're familiar with the site Yossef.com, this site is used typically by authors and people who are selling products on Amazon to find relationships between products. So what you're seeing here is the connection of books. I think I picked urban fantasy as a topic, but you can see how books are interconnected. So in this case, these books are connected. All these books are connected to this book. It's showing up in this also bots. In this case, you have a network connection both ways, right? So you may be using this, and anybody that is using it right now for advertising, just drop a comment and whether you like using it or not. But here's the funny thing about this tool. This tool is based on network theory mapping. So this has been around since the 30s. Guys used to do it on graph paper with pencils. But the idea of mapping and understanding the interconnectedness and the strength of those connections in a network has been around in network theory for decades. And this particular person has just figured out a way to use that tool to help you see the association of products. But what I'm going to suggest you do is this: rather than you just focus on how this can be used for finding a particular product that you want to maybe put your advertising on, look at it as a way to make connections between your books and other authors. So this gets to this idea of building the perfect network and making the right connections. So what do I mean by that? A lot of authors, when they put out a book, and the book doesn't sell, their first idea is, well, I need to find more people to buy the book. I need to get a wider audience. And what I would suggest is that before you add all those variables in, stop and make sure that you've got the perfect audience and that you're trying to see if your book sells to the perfect audience. Because if you can't get your book to be purchased by the perfect audience, then there's no way that it's going to pass into the purchasing cart of somebody that's sort of imperfect. So if you know that you're sending that book to a really high qualified targeted audience, in the case if I was selling urban fantasy books, if I was targeting somebody like Orlando Sanchez's audience, I know those people like a certain flavor of urban fantasy. I know what the covers need to look like. So I would focus my book, and if it resonated and they purchased those books, then I know that my product works with that audience. And now I can go find more people like that. So how do you do that? Well, here's a perfect example I've just given you. Is if you think that your books would fit well with somebody like Orlando Sanchez, then you need to connect with Orlando Sanchez. You need to bring Orlando into your peer network. Okay? And then looking off of him, who else is in his peer network? And this gives you a very visual way to see where key nodes are of concentration, right? So who's this that's got, all these books interconnected? Well, it's Martha Carr and Michael Anderle, right? So they've got a very strong clustered network and a very dense audience connection between these books. In all of these cases, these are people that I'm talking about that you can reach out to and see if they would share your book with their audience. there's no, and it's just funny, those two people I picked on there, I know they are open to talking to people. They help other authors build their network because they remember what it was like when they were getting started. So the idea here is that by you making a stronger peer network, that you're going to then have access to their audience network, right? So you're building this better audience network off of that. So what does that have to do with my book? Well, that is the essence of everything that I came up with for how I marketed my book. I didn't go and just blast this out everywhere. I was very focused and targeted people that I had worked with in the past and people that I know are helping other authors become better authors to share my message. And in doing so, I was able to do this launch, like I said, with nearly 500 books sold in a 2-month period, direct. And because it's direct, I get 98% of that profit, and the money hits my account within 2 days of the transaction closing. So I offer that for you to understand how you can start to think about bringing in these new ways of marketing into your methodology from the stuff that I've learned from launching my book. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is, again, finding that perfect audience. And to do that, what I want to do is walk you through the website changes I've made. So you'll notice something when you come to my website now. I'm not selling anything. There is a lengthy article that goes on for 4 pages that talks through the topics that I have here. Indie publishing versus traditional publishing, more millionaire authors than ever before. I go into a bunch of data that I pulled together about how only 2.5% of the books published on Amazon sell a copy a day, and kind of the breakdown of the economics of being an author. And I'm doing this for a purpose. Again, it gets to the point of me trying to help the right audience find me. So the idea is that as you read through this extensive material on the research that I've done on the subject of being an author, how to stand out in a crowd, how to figure out a new way of selling books to people, you're going to understand that I'm spending a lot of time and money researching and understanding this space, and that I do have expertise in this marketplace. And if you're serious about really being an author, if this isn't just like, if you're some guy that just wants to like get quick rich books and stuff like that, this should bore you and you should get pushed out of the space. But at the end, you're going to come to a point where you understand that you need to be running your publishing business like it's a business. It's very clear for when you read through this whole deal that you're going to be just from reading this article, you're going to end up being a better business person and understanding the industry much better. At the end of that, going through this whole thing, you have some choices. You can just get on my newsletter and continue to learn more, which is great. If you're on my newsletter, you understand the kind of material I put out. Or at this point, you can go in and start looking at the actual product that I'm talking about selling, which is the book and the course material together. Okay. So the idea is that I'm kind of flipping the script, right? Rather than what you hear in most marketing is like, I want to make this funnel. I want to bring all these people in and I want to jam them in and figure out who's ready to buy now. That's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to do the exact opposite. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help people self-select. And if they really are the kind of people that understand that this is a business and they want to take it really serious and they're looking to do some things differently, that they found their place, they found a resource. And then they're going to be in tune for purchasing the product, right? So if you're a fiction writer, this is no different. having a platform where you help people to understand what your brand fantasy is, what your brand promise is, helps them to understand the product that you're looking for them to buy. And then if they dig it and they get the vibe, then they're going to buy. And you know, we've all done this with lead magnets as a way to give people a sample of their product, and that's a valid way of getting more customers and giving them a taste of the product. But what I'm suggesting is rather than being it so active and then like, okay, you've signed up for my book, now I'm going to be on top of you with emails to get you to um, buy more of my books. I'm not saying you don't do that, but maybe prior to that, you go through a process where you help the audience really understand what your brand is about. So that's the other piece of this. And you know, here's another great example. So if you go and look at my YouTube channel, I did a session with a guy named Daryl Weber, and I read Daryl's book called Brand Fantasy, where he talks about the psychology of branding, and it's called Brand Seduction, excuse me. And one of the things he talks about is this brand fantasy. Well, what I did was, and this gets back to my previous point about building your network, is I went and gave Daryl a review for his book on Amazon, because as an author, we all know reviews are awesome. And then I copied that review and I wrote Daryl and I said, hey, I love your book. This is what I got out of it. I left you a review. Would you be interested in being on my podcast? So he wrote me back and said yes. And I've done the same with other authors. I just did the same with a guy named Jono Bacon, who wrote a book called People Powered, which, if you're interested in this whole idea of community and building a community, is an awesome book you should pick up. But understand that I'm going to have the guy on my podcast because I wrote him and said, hey, would you like to be on the show? And I did the same thing, whereas, you know, I gave him a review, mentioned that what I got out of the book. And so I'm being very deliberate in how I'm building out this network of people that I respect and I want to have in it. And do I necessarily think they got something today they can offer me? Yeah, sort of, because what I think they can do is they can come in and tell me more about their ideas, and I can share that with my audience, and we all get smarter together. So let me go into, I showed you that page, the course. Okay, so when you go in there and you, let's say you decide you're going to buy it either through the pre-order link that you see here or otherwise, what is it that you're getting for this $9.99 or $19.99 when I move up the price? It's a book, it's a course, and it's a community. So right now what you're looking at is you're looking inside the actual course. So I'm signed in so you can see all the different topics. And you can go and download the book. So you can download the book, ebook, or as a PDF if you want to go mark things up. So you have access to the book through here, and you can load it in onto whatever device you want to read it on because it's connected up to BookFunnel. But along with the chapters of the book, we have the different sections. So in the book, we have Start, Grow, Prosper. We have this foundation section where in the book it's actually longer, but it talks through these different foundations. We have a document vault where we have documents for you to use for your business. We have some other sections that are open to paid folks, so people that have the full course, the Propel level, where you're going to be wanting to set up a company for yourself. There's all the state-by-state information here for you to look up. And then we have a discussion session. But the idea here is that besides you getting the book that you read through, there's a place for you to go and, you know, watch the videos. Exercise 2 is part of this course and help to explain some of the ideas further, because one of the big things about this book is what we've done is we've built out these activities. So the idea being is when you come into this book and you start reading through the book, um, you start following the activities in it, and while you're learning, you're going to start doing, and you're going to build the habits that are going to do two things for you. It's going to be the habits of getting you to produce words on a regular basis, because if the company doesn't make a product, we don't have anything to sell. And it's going to help you to build the business that can sell that product. So it's going to help you with the marketing. It's going to help you with the actual back office business stuff, and making sure that you understand all of the necessities for getting your taxes done right. Um, we talk a lot about stuff that really, makes authors cringe, about cash flow. But I have to say this, because I work with authors that are making over $1 million, and we've had them come to with their businesses where um, just things are in a shambles, right? They're great authors and they make a bunch of money, but they don't understand how to run a business. And um, not only are they overpaying in taxes, but because they're doing things the wrong way, they're going to get penalties and fines because of not doing it. And I've also found, this is super, super scary, that authors are just getting some really bad advice out there from CPAs that are either not paying attention to the business because they don't understand it, or maybe the author didn't articulate clearly what they're trying to do, that they needed some business help. Um, but really, just some really bad stuff happening out there that's costing authors money. Um, and our hope is that, even if you are getting assistance from a CPA, by reading this book and understanding what we're offering here, you'll be smart enough to ask the right questions, and you'll be in a position to act as the CEO of your business and say, hey, I'm asking you to do this task for me. This is what I want done. But know when somebody's kind of giving you some baloney. So that's the essence of what we're doing in this package, is having you to get material that you need at the level you're at. So as you noticed when we were back here, there's 3 levels, right? So the base level for any beginner is the Thrive course with the book. So you're going to get the full book that explains everything. You're going to get access to the same community that everybody is in, and then you're going to get the base level of the course, which is, a lot of content. Some of this stuff we pulled out of our paid course content and moved it down to this first rung. But it's really for folks that are getting started. Now, if you're somebody that is already making money and you're turning a profit with your publishing business, then you should look at signing up at the Accelerate level. So you're still going to get the book, you're going to get all the Thrive content, but now you get a bunch of material that's focused on how to operate a sole proprietorship, how to get your Schedule C filed properly, how to make sure that you're planning your cash flows appropriately for a business that size. And then the next level up is our Propel level, and that is where we layer in the next deal, which is you're going to set up a company. And we have our process for setting up an LLC, converting it to an S Corp for tax purposes, going through the whole process of assigning your intellectual property to that company for it to use, how to properly paper different documents, a bunch of swipe files for things like non-disclosures. That stuff is available for everybody, but there are some certain things that are specific for once you set up a company and you have to do paperwork around the difference between you and the company. So that's really the essence of what the course and the book is about. I know I got Josh here, if he's still here. Josh, he can you text Josh how you came about knowing about me, where you heard about this and signed up for the contest? we'll see if he does that. But so a big part of what I did with the promotion of this book was, like I said, I went out to this network of people that okay, I see he's still here. So if you want, I can add you into the broadcast. But if you would just if you could tell me where you saw, um, you know, the sign up for the contest and how you heard about me, that I would just kind of want to share that with everybody. Um, but so what I did was is I wanted to have a way to build audience with that network. So he first heard of me in 20 books, which um, uh, I yeah I've spoken at 20 books ever since they've had the conference. Um, but the actual blockbuster publishing package that Josh won was something that I put together. First off, what I did is I went to people in my network that I believe are some of the best in the industry. Jacob Caleb for book covers, Carol Benin for making websites, um, Jen McDonald for doing book editing. So I got those folks together and um, said, "Hey, would you be interested in helping me out?" And they all helped out in different ways. And we built up this package that essentially is everything you need to publish your first book. So you're going to get a book cover, you're going to get a website built, you're going to get the book edited up to I think it's 60,000 words. Um, there's Nick Thacker's new author email service for a year. All that stuff comes with it, and my course. Um, and the idea being is like if I want to attract my perfect audience, it's authors. So I have this thing that like what author would not want that, um, and then give it in a way that by them sharing it with their network, they would then benefit from it. So uh, since I decided to start taking writing seriously, I didn't know much about the business side of things. It's not exactly like what I wanted. Okay, so that's what Josh said was since I had decided to start taking business writing seriously, I didn't know much about the business side of things. It sounded exactly like what I wanted. So, um, you know, what I can also tell you about this exercise was, again, while I didn't do advertising per se, spending money with Amazon or Facebook, what you saw with this package, yeah, that's advertising, and it costs me money to run that, and to, you know, some of the people donated stuff, some of the people paid for stuff, um, or I paid for stuff, but for me, I just see much more value in that. That somebody like Josh is going to get the benefit of that package and become an author, and have a better chance of succeeding with his work because he has that package. Because really, the biggest limiting factor most new authors have is the capital to get those first books out. So this is kind of the problem I addressed with that. And what I saw from that was, is my mailing list increased significantly because of the way that people were awarded points by sharing this with their friends, and their friends then signing up. So it was a case of where there was this competition for folks to kind of share the most email addresses, and the results were Josh came in first place, but then we had several other winners. We had four other winners. It was supposed to be three, but two of you tied, so I gave it to both of you. There's four folks that won the course. So there was Kimbra, there was Carrie, there was Takiri, and there was Megan. And then the other thing I did was for folks that shared my contest in their group, I then said on that particular post, if you commented on that post, I would randomly pick somebody there that could win my course. So in the end, I gave away 10 or 15 courses, which there's a cost associated with that to me. But in my view, that is a much better expense for me than money to Facebook. And the people that are going to get it, I know the benefit of when they get in my course and how that is going to get them to use their network and their word of mouth to promote my course more. So in that case, there was a bunch of folks that got it from the Reader Links group, from uh, anybody that knows R.E. Vance or Remy Vance, who's a urban fantasy writer. He um, just shared his post, and he's got such a strong network. There was 62 comments on it. So that was great. That you can see how just one person with the right network can be so beneficial for you. So there's some other folks here that'll be getting the course for free, and that's the full. When I do that, that's the full VIP course. So not only you get this, but any future stuff you'll be grandfathered into. So that's kind of it for what I wanted to share on this. Just please share with friends that you know. If you're in the course, be prepared. We're going to start digging in, and a big part of what I'm going to be working on with you is helping you to get the most out of this course as fast as possible. I've learned that as my client base prioritizes stuff, the business side is usually the last that gets prioritized. And if I am able to get you to do some of these things right off the bat, especially in the beginning of the year, the value proposition is huge, because what you're going to save in taxes and what you're going to save in headaches at the end of the year. So I'll, at this point, if there's any questions, I'll kind of look through the stream here if there's any questions. But I'm going to, wrap it up here soon. So Stephen, in your new book release, do you talk about direct sales and how to set it up? I don't in the new book. There'll be the new book is really focused on the business operations of any author business. As far as I do have my free book, Direct Sales Unleashed, and then Supercharge Your Fans, which focuses really on the technical side of building out your sales platform to sell direct. I would suggest, Stephen, you can always sign up for one of my free calls, and we can talk about your specific situation. I love, knowing exactly what you're trying to do, so I can give you specific information. And just make sure you're signed up for my newsletter and hang out. If you are in the course, a lot of the material I'm going to be talking about, with all of the stuff about network marketing, and I'm not talking about pyramid schemes. I'm talking about how to use your network to facilitate the business you want. That's what my next book is on, is going to be about that type of marketing. And all of that material is going to go to this community first. They get first access to it. They get to see stuff while I'm working on it and the mistakes I'm making. So beyond just being a book, it's this community piece of folks that are really trying to build serious businesses, and understand that they may need to do things differently than other people. So my eyes are going back. How do you divide your time between your writing business and your personal life? That's doing things that enhance your spirit, such as your family, your friends. How important is it to the balance of your life? I think it's super important, especially for me, because I, like a lot of folks, love what I do. And, given the time, like when my family goes, like, let's say, for example, my wife takes the kids and they go away for a long weekend with their friends. I'll stay home and work. Like, I'm not sitting around. Well, I might be eating Cheetos while I work, but my thing is, I'm not just laying around watching TV. I love the stuff I'm working on. And I think that's a thing a lot of authors have to cope with, is that they are really compelled to do this work. So I do have to really set clear boundaries for myself, because both my wife and I are we have our own businesses. So we do put a lot of time and effort into it. So we have to carve out time and make sure that it's about the family. Um, so it does take some real rigor around that. So, you know, like planning vacations, weekends. So, you know, 2 weekends ago, my wife was went away on a trip with her friends, and so it was my boys and myself. So I made sure that I was that time was focused on me hanging out with them and spending time with them. And one of the things we love to do is we all play Warhammer. If you're familiar with it, it's like a board game. So like that's what we did is we went to the places that we would like to eat and eat the kind of food that mom doesn't want us to eat and play our games and hang out and make sure that I do put that time in um, because I know for myself I'm kind of an all or nothing guy, and when I don't make sure that I stay in the right routines, I fall really heavily out of them. Right, so like I'm the kind of guy that'll exercise. I'll be doing CrossFit 3-4 days a week, and then if I quit, I don't go back for 2 years. Right, so um, that it's interesting you bring that up because that's a big part of what this book is about is I talk about habit because I'm a big believer of that idea from Atomic Habits that we don't aspire to our goals, we fall back to our habits. Right, so when you're a business owner and things start getting stressful, you fall back to your habits, and if you don't have any habits at all around your business practices, you just fall back to mayhem. um, and then it feels like you're working for the business, not the other way around. So building things in like, hey, like in the first chapters of the book, we talk about you need to have an actual appointment on your calendar where you are scheduling writing time. This is a practice that authors that are successful follow like it's a religion. The next one is carving out the exact thing, same thing, a time where you're working on your business. And that the beginning is just reading the book and doing the exercises, but getting you in that habit where you know that you're always putting in that hour or two each week, and then as your business grows, it's going to be more time. Um, you're in that habit of doing that work, so that as things get bigger, you kind of scale with it and you get the things done the right way. Versus, you know, all the authors that are freaking out right now because of tax time and haven't kept any good records. It's only going to get worse in 6 weeks when we get closer to time being due. Hope that answered your question, Stephen. Um, but yeah, I think that I'll give you another example. Something just came up. I'm working with an author. This author does $1 million a year. Did $1 million last year. She's going to do over $1 million this year. And we reworked a schedule for 2020 where she's writing less books. And she said in the meeting when we kind of figured all this out, she's like, I think I'm going to cry. Like I just not having that pressure to have to write so many books makes me feel happy. And in a follow-up call we had just 2 days ago, she was saying like, I'm funnier. Like I'm having more time to relax and do stuff that I wouldn't feel I had the time to do to just kind of blow off steam. That I'm funnier. Like the books are writing better. So I think to kind of your question there, Stephen, is sometimes we get lost in what's the best thing for the business. And, we hear so much that it's about writing books and you got to produce and you got to write 1,000,000 words a year and you got to have a book every month. Well, you know what? Maybe not. Maybe that's not what gets you the best product quality. And so that's one of those things where, life balance really gets you what you want. So unless I got some other questions, I'm gonna wrap this up and let you guys get back to your Saturdays. Oh, one more. What do we got here? Thank you. I'll pick up your pre-order. What is the email address if I want to get in contact with you? By the way, where can I sign up for the pre? So the pre-order, Stephen, I am going to drop that link. I think I can do this. So this is the actual pre-order page if you see it here. You can see the link here down at the bottom. I'm going to see if I can paste it here and add it as a comment. I'm not sure if that added as a comment, but the let me go back. Yeah, there. If you see in the comments, it just dropped there, the pre-order link. But it's courses.joesolari.com/pre-order. I think I can go back to showing you this screen. It's also down here at the um, right here. There's that link there. um, Next to the book. That's the pre-order link that you can use. And so you'll get it at the pre-order price. And then as far as contacting me, my email address is joe@joesolari.com. But if you go to my website, I'm going to, I really need to switch this to here. So so this is the pre-order page. You can see that here. But if you go to my home page, you can schedule a call here. So if you just go to on my homepage at joesolari.com, you can schedule a call right here. You want to schedule a free call. I do have some folks that do private. I do private consultation with where they pay me, but all you need to do, Stephen, is go here. I do 30-minute sessions. There, you'll see some times that are open. We get on a Zoom call and we just talk about whatever you want to talk about. The reason I do this is I feel that since we're talking about author businesses, some of the things you may want to discuss are confidential and aren't really appropriate for webinars. So it's a way we can talk and you know that it's going to be in confidence. All right. Well, I really appreciate everybody that's helped me with this launch. I got to just say that I've been so happy and excited with how this turned out. You know, when you do these kind of experiments, you're like, how's this going to go? Am I going to even sell a book? How are they going to know about me? And doing this and seeing thousands of dollars of book sales come in is just really been a pleasure, and shows me that there's huge opportunities for me to help folks build their business and we can collectively learn how to use some of these things I'm figuring out to help you grow your business, because that's really what it's about. Is I believe we're in this golden age of content creation, and there's folks that I'm working with today, potentially can be you, are going to be folks that create generational wealth through the content that they create. It's happening right now. I'm seeing it. Amazon just released their year-end numbers, and they mentioned that there's thousands of authors making $50,000 or more, and over 1,000 authors making $100,000 or more. Well, they're under. I'm the last guy that wants to like juice people up and say everybody's going to make money, because they're not. But I know of authors. I work with 2 authors that are doing over $1 million a year. They did it last year. They're going to do it again. The reason is because of the stuff we're talking about, right? There are, they're taking the time to understand their audience and write books that their audience loves, and making that connection. And the reality is why I think they're so successful is because they were avid readers before, right? They are the audience, and they're basically meeting the need that they couldn't get themselves in the open market, because traditional publishing wasn't delivering that. And people might say, well, I can't understand how that guy's doing so well writing that stuff. It's like, because he, like thousands of other people, love to read books like that. And by meeting that need, people are prepared to pay money for it. So I'm all about how we can do that, and build wealth from your creativity. So with that, unless I see some more questions come through, I'm gonna wrap this baby up. Get back to my Saturday. Let you guys get back to yours. All right. Well, it's been great. I appreciate you guys taking the time to sit in on this. And I hope it's been of help to you. Bye.